Hello and welcome. We have another JavaScript set to go over today. This time we'll be going over JavaScript set number 4. So question number 1, which of the following is a correct initialization of an array? A, var states equals, and then these three states, array states equals, then we have states equals new array, and then all of the above. Okay, well, let's just go down the ones that are incorrect. So starting at number 2 for B. This seems correct, but it does not follow the proper syntax within JavaScript. You cannot say array states equals, so this is incorrect. Now, option C is correct is a correct syntax, but the question is specifically asking for correct initialization, and all question C does is a declaration of an array. It does not initialize; it just declares a new array. So because of this, this is not true. And that leaves A as the correct initialization of an array containing these three elements. So this is correct. And obviously it's not all the above, so we have A. All right, number 2, which of the following statements is correct about arrays in JavaScript? A, with JavaScript, the full array cannot be printed by referring to the array name and requires a for loop to iterate through the array in order to print all the elements. Now, while in a lot of other programming languages, such as Java, this may be true. You do require some sort of loop or counter to print out contents of an array. In JavaScript, you are able to refer directly just to the name of the array and just print it out like that. So this is incorrect here. B, a JavaScript array is a kind of special object. So this is actually going to be true. The JavaScript array is a special kind of object in JavaScript. Now, this is just something you kind of have to know. Like with JavaScript, the full array can be accessed. So yeah, let's go to number C here. Array indexes start with 1. This is not true. And like most other programming languages, indexes will start at 0, not 1. That's incorrect. And then D, for simplicity, readability, and execution speed, using an array literal is not the best method. And yeah, this is also incorrect. Using an array literal will actually be the best method of declaring / initializing an array. There you go. So we have B as our final answer. All right, number 3. Suppose you want to iterate through an array using a for loop. What would be the statement inside the brackets of the for loop look like? Let the counter variable be called I and the name of the array be ARR. The length is used to return the length of the array. So let's go through this. On A, we start at 1 and we go up to the length of the array less than equal to. Now, like we said in the previous question, array indexes start at 0, not 1. So this would be incorrect because we're starting at the first index. And same thing with the second one too. We're starting at 1, which is going to skip the first element of the array. So that's not it. Now for option C, we do start at 0, which is correct. However, we end up going to less than equal to the array.length. And what will end up happening is this will reach an index out of bounds. Because the indexes start at 0, the length of the index is basically everything gets shifted left by 1. So if we access directly the array.length, that'll be 1 index too high of the array. So this is incorrect. So what the correct answer would be is D, and what the correct answer would be if I is 0 and I is less than array.length I++. Number 4, for the two given arrays, nations and states, which of the options correctly specifies what will happen upon execution? Okay, well, let's discuss what the join and the concat do. So the join method right here, it will pretty much join all elements of an array and print it as if it's like a string. And the parameter within the join is lets us specify what the separator will be. So for example, if we entered a comma inside the parameter of the join, it will just print out the entire array as a string separated by commas. If you put a space, it'll print out the array separated by spaces. So on first glance, without even looking at the second one, we can tell that this is not going to work because we're inserting in another array when it's looking for a single separator, a single type of string to separate. So right off the bat, just by looking at the first, we can tell that it'll enter some sort of error, some syntax compiler error, and it's not going to work. Now a concat, what concat do is it pretty much combines two arrays together. So that will actually kind of work correctly, where it'll just combine these two arrays into one. So these 4 elements and these 2 elements, and it will create an array of size 6. But because of the first line right here, the answer is D, none of the above. Okay, number 5, for the given array of numbers, the sort function has been used to sort the numbers in ascending order of value. Is there any error or does the output match one of the options? Okay, so this is a little bit of a trick question. Now upon first glance, it looks pretty normal, it just gives an array and then we sort it. So you would think that the answer would be B. However, we actually have C as our answer. And the reason for this is because JavaScript will interpret this as a sequence of strings and it will sort it as if they're strings. So 25 will actually be greater than 100 because 2 is greater than 1, and it'll sort it like that. It won't sort by the actual, it won't sort it as if they're numbers, it sorts it as strings. And according to the string definitions and the relative value of the strings, 25, 40, and 5 is all greater than these because they have bigger numbers. So 2 greater than 1, 4 greater than 2, 5 greater than 4. So C is our answer for number 5. Number 6, the given program is a simple for loop for printing random numbers based on certain given parameters. How many times will the range of the math random be 0 through 100? So this looks, now this will require some knowledge of how the math.random works. And basically to sum it up, the math.random, the number that you multiply at the very end is the number between 0 and that number exclusive. Okay, so that's really important to know. It's exclusive of that big number. So for example, this line right here will give out a random number between 0 and up to 100, but not including 100. So 0 to 99. And same thing with this line here. So this will print out from 0 to 49 because it's exclusive of the number 50. So when we ask how many times will the range be pretty much hitting this line right here, it doesn't even matter how many times you count it or do the math. It'll never actually print a random number between 0 and 100. It'll only print out 0 through 99. So this needs to be 101 to work correctly. So a little bit also of a trick question. So the answer is actually D, none of the above. Okay, so number 7, which of the following statements about arrays in JavaScript is incorrect? Okay, so let's look at the first one. In JavaScript, the math.max method is a simple way of finding the largest value from a given integer array by passing the array name as a parameter directly into the math.max method. So this will require some knowledge of the array of the math.max. And one little thing that you need to know, which makes this incorrect, is that the math.max cannot take a array name. It has to take the actual list of values. So for example, math.max, 1, 5, 6. It can't just take an array like array name. This is incorrect. So this is the wrong way to use the math.max. So right off the bat, we can tell that A is correct. But let's read the other questions anyway. The index of an array can be utilized to find the maximum or minimum value of an integer array by using a loop and traversing the array. Yeah, this is pretty much correct. We can use the index to traverse an array starting at index 0 and up until the length -1. And then lastly, in number C, sorting a whole array is inefficient if you only want to find the highest or lowest value. And again, this is correct. If you want to only find the highest or lowest, sorting the entire array is inefficient. There are much more better ways to do that. So this is true. And obviously these are correct, so this can't be right. So we have the right incorrect is A. Number 8, for the given array which contains the letters CONTROL, which of the options will output the word control as a whole without any spaces or characters in between? Okay, so this is going to be just like how I explained a few slides ago. The answer to this is going to be actually in the join method. If you remember what I said earlier, the join will take an array and it'll output it as if it's a string. And then the parameter within the join dictates how we separate each element of that array when we combine it all together. So in this case, by having a single quote and no space, we're pretty much just saying, okay, combine the array and just print it out without anything in between. So that's correct. The prototype keyword here will not work. It'll actually throw in undefined error. So the join keyword here is the correct way to do it. All right, number 9. Which of the following statements are false? 1, the reduce method works right to left in the array. So this is false. This is false because the reduce method works left to right. Now this is just something you have to know about the reduce method. But the reduce method works left to right unless specified. So if we want to force it to read right to left, we would have to write something like this. It's called the reduce right. That would be forcing it to read it from right to left. The reduce method does not reduce the original array. So this is actually true. It does not reduce the original array. So basically what the reduce method does is it creates a copy of the original array and reduces the copy based off the conditions you pass in. So this is true. Does not reduce the original array. 3, the array.filter is supported in all browsers except Internet 8 or earlier. This is just true. This is just something of general knowledge you have to know about how browsers work, but this is true. And lastly, array.filter does not create a new array, but works on the array itself, rewriting it with the new data. And this is false. And just like we said for this question right here, the reduce in JavaScript does not modify the original array. It creates a completely new separate copy of the array. So as we can see here, 1 and 4 is the false answers here. So we have, let's see, B as our answer. All right, number 10. There are 3 methods, filter, every, and sum, which can be used to check the elements of an array for certain given parameters. For the given code snippets, identify the ones which will have the same output. Okay, so let's just go over these one by one. So we have numbers, we have an array of numbers right here. And then now we have a function. It's now basically what the function does is returns if the value is greater than 20. So we have 3 things. We have filter, every, and sum. Now let's go over exactly what each one of these do. So what the filter does is it takes an array and it filters it based off the function. So it'll take this array and it will filter it and return an array that matches that filter. So in this case, it will return an array, smaller array that only contains a value that are greater than 20. The every Now, every and some are a little different, as instead of returning arrays, they will return just true or false booleans. So what the every does is it will return true if every single value in the array matches this condition. So if every single value in the array is greater than 20. Now, the sum is similar, except it returns true if only at least one value of the array matches that condition. So right off the bat, let's just write down what the output of these things will be. So the first one here, it'll filter the array to only be the ones that are greater than 20. So we have 45, 4, 9, and 16 are skipped, and 25. Now, what about the second one here? For the every, this returns a true or false. Now, does every single value in here, is it greater than 20? No, it is not. So this is actually the return false. And then lastly, the sum is checking if at least one value matches this condition. So is at least one value in this array numbers 1 and greater than 20? Yes, we have these two values, 45 and 25. So this will be a true value. So these are the three outputs here. So they're asking us which will have the same output, and the answer is none of these will. These will all have different outputs. This returns a array, and these are two different Boolean values. So because of that, we have D as our answer. All right, well, thank you for joining in. This is JavaScript set 4. And as usual, we have our website where we upload all our videos as well as our YouTube.